I worry for the future of music with the younger generation, how music is presented. There's no music television. There's radio stations are falling by the wayside. Magazines are almost gone. So music's not as important to the younger generation as it was to us. Then we start facing the harsh reality of AI, which is going to replace us all.
It's the Blues Rock Show with Pete Francis.
Today I'm joined by a very special guest making a rare appearance in the United States, Alan Nimmo of King. How's it going?
Hey man, nice to see you. It's going great. This weather here is killing me.
Yeah. It's very hot in Omaha, Nebraska
we
now.
We left Glasgow and it was actually raining and cold. And then it's the heat is when you step off a plane here. It's something we don't get back home. Like you step off a plane and the heat hits you. And not that I'm complaining because we don't get sunshine where I am. So I'm gonna lap it all up.
So, yeah, and we're here for Playing with Fire, Alan.
Yeah.
And this is the second straight year you played the festival.
It is, yeah.
Last year, unfortunately, your kilt did not arrive. Now, someone who discovers King or sees the band for the first time, one of the things that really sticks out is the fact that you're wearing a kilt on stage. How did that originate?
Well, first of all, I think I may have to start looking at how the quality of my music, because it seems to be the only thing that people care about. It's the kilt. But no, years ago when I started the band, the King was born sort of from. I was working with my brother and the Nimmo brothers before that for a long time, and I wanted to. The more and more songs I started hearing in my head, I could hear keyboards, and I think I started to realise all those influences from music that I listened to as a kid were kind of starting to shove their way up, and they're starting to knock at the door and say, right, let us out. So I could hear keyboards, and I wanted to experiment with that and see what I could do. So I decided one night we were doing a festival in the UK, and I said, oh, do you know what? I'll wear a kilt just for the festival thing. I'll maybe do that now and again. And then the first time I didn't wear a kilt after that, I think it was like a lynch mob. You know what I mean? They chased me down the street, and then I was a French chap. Forgive me, I can't remember his name, but he sent me like a cartoon drawing of myself wearing the kilt, playing the guitar, and it became a kind of brand. To be honest, it just became that kind of brand logo for us, and there's now people all over the world with that image tattooed on themselves, which still cracks me up to this day. But yeah, so it kind of stuck, and now it's you know what, and it's I'm not exactly the skinny jeans type, you know what I mean? So it's like a burly Scotsman wearing a kilt sort of works in terms of an image.
Hey, people love it.
Apparently so, yeah.
You mentioned your brother Stevie. He's a couple years older than you. You guys had the Nimmo brothers.
Yeah.
He joined King in recent years.
Yeah.
Did you get into music because of Stevie?
Kind of, but it was my mother. My mother first. My mum's a huge music fan and always was, and I've told this story many times in various interviews. She used to put the record player on, and then just sort of brush past me and give me a nudge and go go listen to that, and it would be like someone like Peter Green or Eric Clapton, Steve Marriott, B.B. King, stuff like that. So I got into that kind of music at a very young age, and then my brother's 6 years my senior, so he started playing music, started playing guitar in a band and stuff like that, and there was an old acoustic guitar, an old Yamaha acoustic guitar lying in the corner of the living room for years. It was a coat stand. And it was all bashed. It was held together with like silver gaffer tape that was cracked. It had been stood on and broken. And I picked it up and I started just strumming around a few things. And I just played. I fumbled around until I was playing like what I was listening to. So I don't read music or anything like that. And then occasionally I'd sit in my brother's bedroom and sort of quietly watch what he was doing, and then I'd run off to my bedroom and grab the old guitar and just see if I could do it as well. And it sort of went from there, and then I formed a band, and when I was in high school with a few friends, doing the usual covers back then. Back in those days, it was all the Born to Be Wild, etc., and all the usual some Rolling Stone stuff and things like that. So I kind of went from there, and then when I was about 14, 15, really, I met actually the bass player in the band, Xander. We started playing together then. We met through a friend of mine who was wanting to start a band, and I met Xander then, and we've never really been apart since. You know, we've been separate things occasionally, but never lost touch. We were always great friends. So it was nice to bring him into the band again.
Yeah. Do you remember the first CD you ever bought?
Oh, yes. The first CD I ever bought was Free, Tons of Sobs album. Yeah. Before that, it was records.
Yeah.
And I think it was probably. I can't remember. Maybe Hysteria from Def Leppard. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know Free has been like a massive influence for you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Paul Kossoff and Paul Rogers, massive influences on myself. I mean, you know, I wanted to make it difficult for myself, you know.
Yeah.
So you pick the best singer in the world to try and emulate. It's very, very difficult.
Yeah, and Paul Kossoff, a very underrated guitar player. What do you think makes him or made him such a special player?
His honesty, his passion. Paul Kossoff was a classically trained guitarist, but he brought elements of that to his playing. But the majority of his playing was just from here, and what he played, he meant. You know, he didn't have to do anything real technical. It was just what he played, how he played it, and it struck a chord with me. And it was the same with the voice, same with Paul Rogers. It was how he sang it just resonated with me, and I was drawn to it from a very early age. And I think when you like a certain music when you're young, you do tend to grow out of that as well. And I've grown and I've evolved in my taste in music, and you keep on learning. But at the core, if I'm on stage playing something and I'm sort of lost in it, like occasionally that'll happen, and it doesn't matter where I am. I could be standing anywhere. It'll always be pointed out, and usually by my brother, who'll point it out. He says, "Oh, I could see that you were sort of immersed in that because you started playing like Kossoff again." And that's kind of what I end up reverting back to when I'm not thinking about it.
Yeah. Who are some guitarists today active that inspire you?
Do you know what? There's so many for so many reasons. You know, it's hard to name people because I take things. I mean, no one would ever know that, but I'm a massive fan of Steve Vai. But I can't play like that guy, and I never will be able to play like him. You know, that kind of thing. But there's certain tiny little things. I was always a bit of a sponge as a youngster. I just absorbed everything. I just take everything in. I just sat quietly, just absorbing everything and things like that. But I mean, you know, you know what? I'm no good with names, so but there's many different guitarists for many different reasons, and there's always something to learn from someone. Always something to learn from someone. I loved an American player called Audley Freed. Who I first heard playing with a band called Cry of Love, and then I think he moved on to, I think he was playing with the Black Crowes and things like that for a lot of different people in the South. He's an amazing guitarist, but he's also got that technical edge. But again, he'll hit you with one note that just blows you away, and you know, so things like that. There's just so many, you know. Even like my young friend Ben Poole, who's here with us this week. He's an amazing guitar player. It's like you don't realise how good a guitar player Ben is until you're sitting in a room like this with him, and he's just noodling, and you realise, wow, he's got a lot of talent, you know. So guys like that. I mean, everyone's got their own attributes.
How about favorite guitar player of all time?
Nah. Nope.
Not taking that one?
No, too many for too many reasons. I can't name one. A musician can't name one guitar. If a musician can name one player as their favourite player of all time, they've learned nothing. So,
is there anything music-wise that might surprise people as far as what you listen to?
I would imagine there is, because you know, fans of the band, you know. They think they know you because of what you present to them.
Right.
So a lot of people tend to think that they know everything about you. But if some people were to realise that, you know, I'll sit at home and I'll listen to Katy Perry.
I think that would surprise people.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Or, you know, things like that. I mean, I'm a big fan of country music. You know, rock, pop. everything. So it's like it's not. I don't just sit at home just like playing along to BB King. I do that, but I also listen to loads of. I like Prince, and like I say, and a lot of pop culture because I'm always trying to find a nice melody. Because I over the years I started out as a guitarist. I would tell people I'm a guitarist, but I'm a singer now, and I'm a songwriter. So when I'm trying to find the right melody, the right catchy melody, I'm listening to all sorts of different music and trying to draw that influence, so that I'm not playing the same old generic blues rock thing that people would expect.
Well, and that's a big difference, I think, that separates King from a lot of other blues rock acts is you really do have a focus on the songs, the hooks, and you guys have a lot of them.
I mean, it was nice. I mean, I've that's developed in me. I'm not going to say that I've always been that way because I haven't. That's a lie. You learn and you learn and you learn, and if you've got the capacity to keep learning, then that's great because there's always something new to learn. And I thought that I was kind of on that path of focusing more on the songs, thinking less here right in front of my own nose, and trying to get this across to the guys in the band as well, that it's not about them individually, it's about the whole thing, and you've got to think beyond yourself, and that helps if you can keep that in mind and you can adapt to that attitude. It helps for songwriting, and it was nice to be. I was on one of the Joe Bonamassa cruises, and Kevin Shirley, the great producer, was chatting away to me, and he pointed that out to me, and Kevin's the only person who's managed to name a band that there's a sneaky influence from, just in parts, and he's the only person ever to say you sound sometimes a little bit like Journey. and I know we don't sound like Journey a lot, but if you can spot it in tiny little areas, and he's the only person that noticed that. So and he complimented me as well. He said, it's nice to see someone concentrating on the songs rather than, showing off with the fingers.
Right.
I can't. I know 3 chords. That's it. I'm not a technical guitarist. I can use it well enough to get my point across. Songs are stories. It's about saying something, not showing off.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Kevin Shirley, you worked with him recently.
Yeah, he mixed the first single for the album, and when I get the rest of the songs to him, he'll do the rest for me. But he's in the middle of a move, actually. I don't know if I should be telling people that, but he's moving to Nashville, so all of his equipment was in transit. So I need to wait for him to get his studio set back up again as well, and then I'll send him all the tracks over, and he can put his magic on them.
Yeah, and the new album is Light Up the Sky.
Yes,
What can you tell us about the new album? It's been a little while since we've had a King studio album.
Yes, it's been too long, to be perfectly honest, and I do apologise to our fans who have been patiently waiting for that, but I simply can't put out an album that I'm not happy with. So if I feel it's not right, I'm not going to put it out just because there's pressure from elsewhere to get it out. I'd rather sit and leave it. So I want to make sure that it's the right songs, and they're written and produced the right way, at least to the best of my ability. As long as I know that I've done my absolute best with them, I'm happy with that. If there's more to learn after that, which I'm sure there will be, that's for the next album. But I can't just throw albums out just for the sake of it, just because people are saying, well, it's been a while since you've had an album out, where is it?
Yeah.
I don't care.
Well, and you want to keep the standard high for
exactly,
the fans as well.
And it's not for anyone else, it's for me. Yeah. I want to keep the standard for me. I want to make sure that I'm happy with what I've done, what I've produced. So we will get there, and we're getting there, and what we've done so far is sounding really, really nice, and I'm happy with what we've done so far. And I think it'll be. There's always that. It's trying to create something that's moving forward from your last album, but still maintaining that. Well, no matter what it sounds like, no matter what it is, that's King, and that's the balance I'm always trying to keep.
Yeah.
But somehow, somewhere, I mean, I can be writing a new song. For example, the second single called Strong, that's just come out. And I remember taking it to the lads in the band, and my brother in particular said, I really didn't understand what this song was. I didn't get it. It's like, to be honest, he said, I wasn't even sure if I liked it when I heard some of the music first. And then you finished the song, and then I realised, oh yeah, that's King. Right. No matter how different it is. But so that's always something I want to maintain, that people can always recognise who it is. because that keeps people sort of in their safe little zone. You know, it's like, oh, it's okay, it's King King, it's all right.
Right.
I look after people inadvertently.
What's the biggest change you've seen in the music business over the past 5 years?
That it's become extremely difficult to be in the music business. COVID. I know that COVID affected everyone. It affected the world, and it affected, you know, just about every industry on the planet. But it did have a massive impact on our business. Things like even living in the UK, going to Europe and working, and that's partly to do with Brexit as well, along with the COVID. It's almost not worth doing it. It's not worth going to Europe to work now. It's because it's so expensive. It's so difficult. I mean, it's difficult coming to the States. I mean, I've been getting messages for years from people saying, "Why don't you just come to America? Why don't you come to the States?" And sometimes I get really frustrated. I'm going to be honest about that. I sometimes get really.
Well, I don't think most people understand the visa process with that and the enormous amount of cost that goes along.
You don't just get to just go, okay then, I'll be there tomorrow. That's not how it works, as you know. But a lot of people don't know that, and a lot of people get very impatient, and they're like, you know, because they want to see you on their doorstep. And I get that, and it's flattering, and it's lovely that people want to see us, but it ain't that simple. I wish it was, because if it was, we'd be here all the time. But there's a lot of hoops to jump through. There's a lot of financial pressure on that as well. It's very expensive to come here. So that's the reason why we're not here all the time. But you know, with things like the Playing with Fire, with Jeff and Vanessa doing all the hard work that they do. And I just actually want to say that, you know, a big thanks goes to those guys. People need to realise how hard Jeff and Vanessa work to put this festival together. It's a free festival, and they're getting, and a lot of the volunteers as well. They need to be applauded, because there's so much work goes into these things, so much hard work, so many hours that no one will see. They just see the festival as when they show up for their weekend and they have a great time. But the work that gets done to put that together is very important for me, to make sure people understand how much work goes into that. And words can't describe it at this stage. So I applaud them, and I thank them very, very much for bringing us over here.
Yeah, and there's so many bands that they bring to the United States.
Yes,
if it weren't for them, they would never make it over here.
Do you know what? Like, this is the US. There's musicians are 10 a penny. They're everywhere. There's great musicians, great bands everywhere. Jeff and Vanessa could easily just say, you know what, I'm going to pick some local bands, I'm going to pick some American bands. I've seen them travel to the UK, to Europe. I've seen them go and doing all the hard work, seeking out bands to bring here to give a chance to let people see and showcase music that otherwise wouldn't get heard or seen live in this country if it wasn't for guys like them. So I really, they're doing a great job, and people need to understand how hard they work.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Alan, do you prefer where the music business is now or when you started your career?
If I knew then what I know now, yes. I find the music industry very difficult at the moment. It's very, like I say, it's hard. It's a hard thing to navigate at the moment. But I believe that if we can keep music real, keep it live and alive, we can hold out hope that hard times will be behind us at some stage. But I worry for the future of music with the younger generation, how music is presented, how music is viewed nowadays is so different. There's no music television. There's radio stations are falling by the wayside. Magazines are almost gone. So music's not as important to the younger generation as it was to us. You know, when we were young, music was music, and film was your entertainment. And you listened to the radio, you watched TV. There was music. There was bands on TV all the time. There was music shows. There's none of that anymore. And there's no product. There's no physical product nowadays. It's everyone's listening on a phone, and they're getting their music chosen for them by Spotify or something
algorithms.
Like that. That's getting that. There's a playlist that's been recommended, and then you get young kids buying a ticket to the next festival because they know that song, and so my worry is that no one will view music the same way anymore. They won't hold it as dear to them as we did, and that's dangerous, because that could make music disappear, especially if it's not getting revered the same way as it should be. We see it in the industry. We see it in the film industry. Everyone's choosing the path of least resistance, and everyone's selling off back catalogue to do this, and then then we start facing the harsh reality of AI, which is going to replace us all. So we need to bring back that importance. We need to work and keep on working to make sure people know that how important music is, because a world without music is a world I don't want to be in, and we're heading for that if we're not careful.
You mentioned AI. How much does it scare you, the fact that now there are AI bands out there and they're getting a lot of traction and a lot of people listening, and that really kind of takes away from the actual musicians? Exactly,
yeah. That's exactly what we've just been talking about. I think that sometimes I think that all the very, very smart and clever people in the world that can build this technology are actually the dumbest people in the world at times, because they are cancelling themselves out. They're making human beings surplus to requirements, and I think there's a better use for those kind of brains. I think there's a better use for technology. But when you're sitting there and you watch, I can download an app onto my phone and say, write me a song about such and such, and then 2 seconds later it's done. And it's like, but again, it's the focus on that kind of quality. Like, I would never say that's a beautiful song that touches me, but a younger generation might think, well, what does it matter? It's a song.
Well, and they're going to get to a point where they don't know anything else, really.
They don't know anything else, yeah, exactly. I mean, my niece and nephew have grown up in a world entirely with social media and the internet. They'd never known a life without it. Guys like me, I'm in both worlds. I grew up without that. Now I'm having to survive with that, and it's difficult for people like me, because you've got a hand holding on to the past, and with a shaky hand try to go like, well, where is this future taking me? It is a worry to me, and I think it should be something that we need to address. But because music is art, music is beautiful, and if a computer's writing music for us all and no one cares, then what's left? Where do we go? There's nowhere left to go after that. If people submit to that and just say, right, that's good enough, because it's not good enough.
Yeah, agreed. How valuable do you think record labels are in 2025?
I don't know, to be honest. I really don't know. I've never really held very much value for record labels, to be honest. I think that a lot of young artists, young bands, and it's been happening since forever. It's not something new, but there's that whole thing where young guys in bands think they sign a record deal, and they think there's that old phrase of, we've made it. And I always used to think, no, you haven't. You've just signed your life away, and you're just going to be in debt for a long time, and someone else is going to profit from your work. And that's why I've never really bothered with it. I've never really been fussed for a record label. I don't, no one's spending money anymore. So I mean, there used to be a record label would hand over a large amount in advance, which bands ultimately didn't realise that was just a big giant loan with high interest. But it managed to distract them for a while, and it got them somewhere. But there's nowhere to spend money anymore. There's nowhere to spend money. As I say, you used to spend a few £100 and get a centre spread in a magazine, and that would catapult you to stupid levels. But no magazines anymore.
Well, everything is so fragmented.
Well, yeah,
too.
And record labels are, they're not taking any risks on spending. They're not spending it. Where do you spend it? It's, there's a world of streaming and downloading now, and physical product is. I mean, my daughter barely knows what a CD is. You know, it's like she's looking at it going like, what? What's this? Okay. So, I mean, you know, I think there's, for bands, labels can sometimes help bands who are maybe financially and not independent. They can't afford to do things, so they can't afford to pay for the studio. And that seems to be the thing. Like, everything else for the musicians stays the same. Like, it costs us more and more and more, where all the prices of everything else stay the same. You know, it costs just as much money to go to a studio to record an album. But we've got to sell our albums at a fraction of the price. So whereas in the 80s or 90s you made your living from selling albums, your touring money was something to play with. It's the exact opposite now. You've got to keep on touring to make your living, because you can't sell any album, you can't make any money selling a product. And then but you run into the problem that if you oversaturate by touring all the time, your audience will dwindle, because they'll see you again in another couple of months, and that's when it becomes a massive issue. And we all need to keep on working, but you either run yourself into the ground touring all the time, and at the same time you ruin your legacy, because people are seeing you as much as they're seeing a bar band in the local pub on a Friday night, and that can't happen. But you're kind of forced into doing that, because it's the only way to earn. And then if you want to go off and try other avenues of revenue by doing podcasts or this or that, and try and monetizing your band by doing other things, you're spending more and more time sitting like this than you are concentrating
You're taking
on
away
your music.
from your creativity, from your music.
Me sitting here doing a podcast, that's not a musician. That's a guy doing a podcast. And I need to be. I'm an artist, I'm a guitarist, I'm a singer, I'm a songwriter. That's what I do. But all of that's getting taken away from us, and it's a bit scary. I mean, it is. But I know we have to flow with it. I know we have to adapt. We adapt to survive. But sometimes I think the adaptation is taking us away from what we are.
Well, I mean, a lot of artists today too. It's all about creating content and TikTok videos and all of that. Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I closed all my social media accounts a while back. This is a standing joke in the band. Whenever I start talking about social media, the room empties. The guys go, here he goes, he's going to rant again. But I think social media is just. I think it started out a great idea, but it's been turned into something so toxic. And it's ruined a generation of people. It's ruining humanity for me. I can't stand it. It's just given every idiot in the planet a platform to talk nonsense and laud their opinion on everything and opinions that they just have no idea what they're talking about. And everyone has that opportunity to make everything about them. So I think, in my opinion, social media needs shut down, deleted, and forgotten about. That's my. There, I said it on camera.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen, Alan.
I know it's not going to happen, no. But it doesn't mean to say it shouldn't happen.
What's the most important lesson you've learned in the music business?
To be honest. To be absolutely honest with yourself, with others. Do what you do for the right reasons and be passionate about it. I think one thing that especially for a band like King, we're not reinventing the wheel. We're not coming up with anything brand new. What we're doing is we're doing a classic style of music, but we're doing it with energy and passion. And I think one of the reasons why we've survived in this climate is the fact that what we do and when we do it, we mean it. It means something to us. And I think there's many lessons to learn. You can learn about the industry, you can learn about this, that, or the next thing, but you know what? That's everyone's mistake to make. That's how you learn. We all need to do an apprenticeship in this business, and a lot of bands don't. A lot of bands come from their bedroom to a large stage, and it's because of the digital world that we live in, and that's not good for them, and it's not good for fans, because they've not learned anything. They've not learned anything from their bedroom, to a massive stage.
Yeah, playing on Instagram is a lot different than playing in front of a live crowd.
You need to do the work in this game. You need to understand what it means, and that's, you know, there's many lessons to learn. There's practical lessons that you learn along the way. You do things, and you get experience. There's nothing that counts for experience in anything, any walk of life, and experience is something that a lot of people don't have. But it's also about appreciating what you have and appreciating what you get to because of the journey you've taken to get there. That's unfortunately something that so many musicians and bands are never ever going to have. They're never going to experience that. They're never going to be able to appreciate that either. They're going to be taken from their parents' bedroom to a massive stage and learn nothing in between. And that'll be their downfall. I guarantee it.
We were talking about some of the changes in the music business. Today, it seems like a lot of bands now have pivoted to pretty much just releasing singles. Albums don't seem to be as important this day. What are your thoughts on kind of that change?
Well, yeah, I mean, again, it's something that, I mean, even if you go back, you know, singles were a big thing back in the sort of 70s, 80s, 90s even as well. But, you know, so then came the album. The single was the marketing, was the PR for the album, and then I always remember we always used to take such care in thinking about how you the running order of an album. You thought about that from start to finish. You know, what was your first song, what was your second one. Nowadays, people just hit the shuffle button anyway, so it doesn't matter anymore. And people are downloading everything anyway. If you've got an audience like ours, our audience have kind of grown old with us, so a lot of them still want the physical product in their hand, but they're still doing the same thing. They're still listening to everything on Spotify. They're still downloading things. So, yeah, I mean, singles just, I think, to be honest, I think singles buy you time. You know, they buy you time, and you can feed pieces of your new music to them along the way, and it's becoming something that it just is what it is. I think is how to put it. That's how it's all going. That's the direction it's all taken. So again, you adapt to survive as much as you can, and that's one of the things I think we're having to adapt to as well. Is that we're going back to that. Like you release a digital single, you know, you're not going down to the local store anymore and buying the 7-inch. You're getting it, and you hit a button and there it is on your phone, and that's the world we live in.
Yeah, you mentioned the younger generation not really listening to this type of music. Where do you see this music and the health of it in 20 years? Because if you don't have young people listening to it...
Well, you can only hope that, because this comes in, it always has done, there's always like a cycle. Music comes and goes, and it's always been like a big big carousel, comes around again, it comes around again, it comes around again. I'm starting to fear that that's not the case anymore. It's because, like I say, everything else surrounding it has changed so much that music's not getting that chance to have a lull and then come back around again for people. That's the danger that we're in. But great music is great music. It will always be there, and you know, at the end of the day, we'll always make music. I'll always make music. How accessible it will be for future generations is out of my hands. But all we can do while we're doing it is try our best to keep it there, to keep letting people know that if you want it, it's here.
Yeah.
You know, and also to let people know that it's here, and you'd be surprised at what you can learn from it. How that gets received from everyone who seems to know everything about everything already is another matter.
Alan, you're playing a couple dates here in North America. For fans that may be new to your music in North America, how would you describe the King sound?
Well, it's always amazing, because I even now I'm finding it difficult to describe how King is. But when I first put the band together, I wanted. I was a big fan of like the Fabulous Thunderbirds, the Red Devils, bands like that. So I wanted an out and out blues band. And that sort of period, sort of in the mid to late 90s, early 2000s, a lot of bands were doing that kind of crossover thing. Everyone took to Stevie Ray Vaughan and did that, and wanted to do that kind of crossover blues rock. And I did that as well. I did that with Nimmo Brothers, and I wanted to put a pure blues band, because at this point, the blues scene in the UK, especially in Europe, there was no blues bands anymore. Nobody was playing blues. They were all trying to do something a little bit different. So I wanted to go back to doing that. But then, just that thing inside me was like, it came to writing songs, and I can only write what's here. And I started writing songs, and it was like, no, that's not blues. And I started to hear that, like, when I started, all of a sudden this it was like it was like something that I'd locked away and forgotten about. My childhood came rushing back to me, and I remembered all these bands and all this music that I used to listen to, and that was what started coming out. So I was writing songs, and I was influenced by bands like early Whitesnake, Free, Bad Company, stuff like that. So if I'm to describe what King is now with how we've evolved, and we keep on evolving, I would say it's more like it's kind of like, the closest I could come to it as a category is like classic rock, with that spirit of blues inside it. There's always going to be blues in my music, which there always was in classic rock, because that's what those guys came from, So I would say classic rock with a touch of sometimes that 80s AOR type melodic rock type thing there. That's about as close as I can get. If you like bands like early Whitesnake, Thunder, Steve Marriott, Free, Bad Company, if you like that kind of music, you're going to like King.
And one of the things I love about King, this current iteration of the band, with you and Stevie, I love the guitar harmonies.
Yeah.
How would you describe Stevie as a musician? He's
a great musician. Fantastic. I think better than he knows himself. He complements. We complement each other well. There's often talked about the chemistry between us, the natural chemistry, and that's there. Of course it is. And a lot of that's to do with being siblings, as well as musicians. But we've been playing together for so long. Plus, there's a sort of telepathic, brother to brother type thing that just seems to just work, and we can, you wouldn't ever know it. You wouldn't know it, but there's signs and signals we'll give to each other on a stage that no one would notice. Even if they can be so subtle. It can be a move of a shoulder, a raise of an eyebrow, anything, a turn of a head, anything like that. And he knows what I'm doing, and I know what he's doing, and that makes life a bit easier in the band, because with the Nimmo brothers, for example, the roles are a little bit reversed, because he was more to the front, and I was the one in the background, coordinating the band and working between the band and him and us. Whereas in this role, he's taken the role, because I'm more at the front, and I'm more interested. I have my job now is to engage. People aren't watching a bar band; they're watching a concert, as far as I can see. If I'm concerned, so I have to engage with the audience, so that I've got less time to work the band. So he's now taking on that role a little bit. So he's the man between me and them, and that's good, because, like I say, I can be concentrating on engaging with an audience in front, but I can have the subtlest of movements, and he knows exactly what that means, and he knows something needs to be done, and he knows what that something is. So that's great. So as a musician, I've got nothing but respect for him. He literally taught me how to play guitar, and I learned from him. So yeah, he's great. He's better than he thinks he is.
Have you ever had that connection on stage with anyone else?
Johnny Dyke, the keyboard player, and Xander, the bass player. I find if I don't have that connection with people in the band, there's the connection with those guys, and then there's a connection with my brother, which is different. That's on a different level, but that's a family thing. But if I don't have that connection with those guys, they don't last long. Xander and I, for example, the bass player, played with each other before Stephen and I did. Him and I can do that. There's always jokes about it nowadays. Him and I can stand on a stage and stare at each other right in the eye for ages. It's just like we just, there's nothing awkward about it. It's just that's that connection. And we've always had that. We've always had that sort of chemistry as well. First day I ever met Xander was I walked into a friend's flat, and as I say, I was he'd been told that I was 16, and then the closer it got to me arriving, he was told he's actually 15. And then when I got there, it was like, well, actually, he's not 15 for another 2 months. so this adult was sat there, you know, with this teenage schoolboy coming in the door who had long hair and a beard, and then we just sat and we just started jamming some Peter Green things and some blues stuff, and it was like that immediate connection, and I knew that this was a person that was going to be in my life for the rest of my life. And sometimes I regret that because he can be a pain. He knows it. But no, so that chemistry, that little vibe between you is very, very important. And I think it's what makes the music good as well, because it contributes to all of that, you know.
Well, Alan, this has been really great. Any final thoughts or any message you want to get out to the fans before we let you go?
Just bear with us, folks. The brand new album is coming very, very soon. I promise. And just one more time, I'd just like to say thank you to Jeff and Vanessa for inviting us here to play at the festival once again. We're really, really looking forward to playing. And just if you get a chance, if you're here and you get a chance to see Jeff or Vanessa, just, you know what? Just give them a pat on the back. Just say, appreciate what they're doing.
Absolutely. All right. He's Alan Nimmo. I'm Pete Francis. This is the Blues Rock Show. We'll see you next time.